welcome to the Cerebral 7. I'm your co-host Tristan Vanek, here with Joey Krafchick. We're going to be talking today about what went right and what went wrong in Week 3. Joey, how you doing?
Can't complain. Wanted Week 3 to go a little better overall, but can't crush every week.
Well, we just watched the Eagles beat the Bucks 25-11, and the Bengals beat the Rams 19-16. We'll get back to Rams-Bengals in a minute, but let's start this week out with the biggest blowout I've ever seen. Dolphins 70, Broncos 20, Miami averaged 10 yards a play. Tell us how you bet and how you won money this week, Joey.
I had the Dolphins covering their 6 points they were favored by, and the score projection I had was 34-20. I was very proud of myself because the Broncos did score 20 points, but the Dolphins scored more than 34 in the first half and second half. So when I saw that they cracked 70 points, I was sending out the screenshot of them having 70 points with 8 minutes ago, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say that I'm very upset they couldn't be bothered to kick a field goal near the end of the game and break the all-time record for NFL points in a game. The head coach after the game said he's not out here to humiliate people, but that ship sailed sometime before then, so they could have just broken the record, and it wouldn't have changed that. Having the Dolphins in the over in this game, it's going to be hard for me to ever be more right about a game, ever.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel, I guess, was being classy there after dropping a 70 burger on them. But let's transition over to the lowest scoring game of the week, I believe. Patriots 15, Jets 10. You called the Patriots minus 2.5 here and the under. Both of them hit.
Yeah, so this game was surprising in that Zach Wilson didn't have a single turnover. Irregardless, the Jets just couldn't get any offense going, and neither could the Patriots. Each team punted it 8 times. There were 16 punts in that game, and anytime you have 16 punts in a game, the under's going to be what happens. The Jets were in the game the whole time, but at the end of the day, they just don't have the weapons, they don't have the line, and their defense is really not playing that well. Last year, we saw some really good defense from them, but the Patriots ran it for over 150 yards on them, and the Jets didn't get a single sack in this game. So there were some surprises. It didn't mess with the over-under outcome, but the Jets getting 0 sacks on the Patriots and Zach Wilson having 0 turnovers is definitely hard to see coming.
So, Joey, it's looking pretty good right now. We're 4-0. Let's move, though, to the Atlanta Lions game. Lions 20, Falcons 6. Desmond Ridder did not look like he was it. They've been pounding the ball, running very successfully. What happened with this game?
Yeah, that was uncanny. So I did project the Lions to have 20 in this game, just like I projected the Broncos to have 20. The Lions did score 20, but the Falcons, complete dud. What I saw from them last week was an incredible rush attack, and I thought they would stick to that game plan. I figure they can run it on Detroit, no problems. But starting with the opening series on offense, they were throwing it. They were play-action passing, and they only attempted 8 runs in the first half or something very silly. And in retrospect, it does seem like the head coach, Arthur Smith, was probably thinking, okay, let's experiment. If we can pass the ball as an offense, it's going to happen against Detroit. If we can't pass it on Detroit, we're not going to pass it on anyone. So my hope is that this was just an early season experiment to see if Desmond Ridder could shoulder the load, but it was a very failed experiment. And I hope they just run the ball the rest of the year, every single down, because that was just an embarrassing performance. Only scoring 6 points. It's just, I couldn't have possibly known that was their game plan. And if I had, I would have taken the Lions, clearly.
Well, now let's go back to the game we just watched, Monday Night Football, Bengals and Rams. Matthew Stafford had less time than when you yell blitz in flag football. How did that game go down in your eyes?
The Bengals defense, I talked about this before, where we know that they're good players and they're going to get it together, but I can't bet on them being good until they show it to me. Well, here we are in Week 3, and they showed it to me. They sacked Stafford 6 times. Their run game was nowhere to be found, and the Rams converted 0 third downs this game until the very end on that 3rd and goal. So it was an uncanny turn of events. The Rams handled the 49ers and moved the ball very well last week, and then this week they can't convert a single 3rd down. It was a major overcorrection, and despite that, both teams still moved the ball pretty well, and there were 7 combined field goals, 19-16. If a few of those are touchdowns, the over still gets there. So I think the over was still the right play, but it was kind of hard to see that the teams would fail to execute so poorly in the red zone and settle for field goal time after time after time. So it looked pretty bleak for the Rams covering the spread and the over hitting pretty early in the second half. So I'm glad that the Rams were able to rally in essentially garbage time and end up making it a push, which helped our record this week, 4-2-1. So yeah, it would have been nice to be 6-1 or 5-2 this week, but the Monday night game just didn't go our way. And the good news is we learned things from that game and from all the games this week. So the next set of weeks and the rest of the season really are going to be a lot better because we have a lot more information that we've gained in these early weeks. That information is really vital.
Yeah, well, you always wish that losses can turn into wins, but one game that we told our subscribers to stay away from this week was Minnesota versus the Chargers, and that game was right down to the wire at the end. Are we happy that you told people to stay away from that one?
Yeah, I think so. There was 1,000 yards of offense in this game almost, and it was just the Chargers did have a little bit of a lead, up 21-10, and then the Vikings scored twice, so it was kind of a seesawing somewhat back and forth. Chargers had command at some point in the third, up 21-10, but nonetheless, it was two evenly matched teams, as we thought. Great offenses, terrible defenses. It could have gone either way at the end there because the Vikings were on the goal line and ended up getting picked off on a tip drill, so I don't think there was an edge to be bet on either side, and I think the outcome of the game, how it played out, probably evidenced it.
As we do every week, you're going to take the data, keep crunching the numbers, and learn from everything that happened this week going into week 4. So could you tell us about a few things that you took away from this week and you're going to be applying going forward?
A lot of teams before the season I kind of projected to be garbage, and when they were not so garbage the first few weeks, I had to kind of middle. I had to think, maybe they're good, but they're probably not great. So it's really hard to decide exactly how much you want to read into teams over or underperforming, and this week was a lot of major corrections. The Falcons scoring 6. The Titans scoring 3. They only had 120 yards of offense this week. That wasn't in our Cerebral 7, but nonetheless, I had the Titans with the 3.5 because I thought it would be a close game. And the Commanders, they got sacked 9 times, threw 4 picks, lost to the Bills 37-3. So a lot of those teams, Tampa Bay, got exposed. All of these teams that were surprising the first few weeks just absolutely died week 3. So now we have a little more equilibrium and understanding of who they are.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd ask you about is the biggest upset of the week, Cardinals over the Cowboys. Any recalibrations there?
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys' offense and defense were overrated, and the Cardinals were clearly undervalued. They were 12-point dogs, but it was a little bit of luck. But it wasn't fluky. The spread was definitely wrong on that game, and I really wish I had taken the Cardinals. So now we know the Cowboys are a lot closer to average than we thought, and the Cardinals are pretty decent. They're going to win, some games this year. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're competitive, so they're not a pushover. They're going to compete every week for sure.
Well, there you have it. What went right and what went wrong for week 3. Heading into week 4, we'll be back after Thursday Night Football with our Cerebral 7. We got a lot of interesting matchups. We got a London game this week, so stay tuned for those picks. Thanks so much for having me, Joey.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and while this week didn't go as well as I wanted overall, we learned a lot of things, and I'm sure it's going to factor into making a lot better selections next week and for weeks to come after that.